Hello, Mark Red Larson here for the Dreamcatcher podcast. Thanks for joining me. So today my guest is Scott Pinkham. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you.
So how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well.
Good. So we were just talking that we got to know each other, I think, at Casey's, which is a convenience store here in Nebraska. Probably other places in the country, but um, so how long ago has that been? When did you start working for Casey's?
Clear back in 2003, and I
Okay.
put in about just shy of 19 years with them.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what did you do before that?
I worked at Wendy's, old-fashioned hamburgers in the Kearney, Grand Island area for about 20 years.
Really? Okay, awesome. Is that something that you went to school or wanted to do that with management?
Oh, I just kind of worked my way through school, flipping burgers just as a job to help pay for college.
Okay.
And I just kind of worked my way up as I was going through school.
Uh-huh.
Got out of school, and I was like, "Hey, I kind of like this."
Like that?
So I just stuck with it.
Okay. And you didn't grow up in this area, did you? Or did you?
Oh, I would say mostly,
Mostly? Okay.
um, you know, from anywhere from East Providence, Rhode Island, where I was actually born,
Okay.
to Southern Illinois, Peoria,
Wow.
Illinois, to Kansas City, to over by Fremont, a little town called Cedar Bluffs,
Okay.
Kearney, Aurora.
I didn't realize you were all those places. So
Quite a few.
what took you to all those different places from where you were born?
Mostly my dad's job.
Okay. What'd your dad do?
He was in the Navy, stationed in Newport, Rhode Island.
Okay. That makes sense.
But mom and dad actually met on a blind date
Uh-huh.
while he was stationed at Newport, which is no longer a Navy base, of course, hasn't been for years.
Okay.
And still a nice, very nice place to visit.
Mhm.
But he was living in Nebraska at the time when he entered the Navy, and his parents stuck around in Omaha area. So I
Okay.
just kind of migrated back this way.
Do you have any family back on the East Coast then still? Or
I actually do. My mom and my sister both live in or around Portland, Maine.
Oh, really? Oh, way. Do you go visit them? I've never been to that part of the country.
It's been a couple years, but yeah, I need to get back there again.
No. Do you like Maine? I mean, I've never.
I do. It's very beautiful.
Okay.
I've lived in New Hampshire for a while in the summer, so
Okay.
way back at the end of college. So I enjoy the Northeast. It's a nice place to visit.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure if I'd want to live there,
Yeah.
but
Right.
being out here so long, it's just one of those things.
Yes. Yeah. You want to have your space, and but I've never been to that part of the country. So okay. Where did you go to school?
I went to college at Kearney
You
State.
did. Okay.
back
Me
then.
too.
Now,
Okay.
now UNK, of course, and graduated from Aurora High School.
Aurora. Okay. Okay. Aurora's a nice town. Very nice.
Yeah.
So would you go to school in Kearney State? I
Yeah.
mean, what was your major or majors?
Comprehensive business administration with emphasis in accounting and finance.
Wow. So I could be somebody I could talk to if I was looking at investments or something like that, or
I did
or
hang
do my
around.
accounting and
Yeah, I hung around my dad a lot, so he had big influence probably on some of my choices. And
good influence.
I thought I'd always wanted to run my own restaurant, and
Okay.
most small businesses fail due to just bookwork
Yeah.
and not keeping track of stuff. And I didn't want to fail at that if I ever got the chance. So I didn't end up doing that,
Okay.
just because as I worked my way through, it seemed harder and harder to get good help.
Yes, I can believe that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you talk, especially in this day and age, that's what you hear all the time. You can't get anybody to work
Yeah.
or to come in or show up or anything like that. So
My actual time to run a restaurant was, we had 5 kids.
okay.
And of course, I had kids and not money
Yeah.
as they're growing up.
Yeah, that's true.
It would have been great help at the restaurant had I opened one, but
So what kind of restaurant were you thinking?
just plain old comfort food, and
Awesome.
just go seasonal menu and have a few staples and
Cool.
just your own hometown sit down type cafe that you're sorely lacking in.
Yeah,
in
and so many
rural
places
America
anymore.
anymore.
Yes,
Yeah.
the ones you always thought were, when you found those, they were always the best place to go eat because they
Yeah.
always had really good food. So, So have you ever thought about opening one here in Minden? In your spare time, which you probably wouldn't.
I've entertained thoughts, and my wife has poked and prodded me, not enough to actually do it.
Uh-huh.
But, you know, being my age now, I'd think twice about it,
I can understand that.
but you never know.
Yes, because that's what I did out of college is restaurant management. And there is anybody, well, like anything, what you're doing now with the hardware store, there's always so much that goes on behind the scenes to make it look like it's going smoothly.
Great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. When I started doing that, that's what I had business, and business got you anything. It got me a lot of that stuff. And I was down in Dallas, and it was like 100-hour weeks. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
But no, it was interesting. But I knew right away, like in a few months, it's not going to happen. So okay, you're managing hardware store. I guess that's what you call it. So
Minden Hardware.
yeah. So how did you get to that point?
Well, towards the end of my Casey's career, I'd always treated the store like my own, like it was a hometown place.
Yep.
And I just thought they were becoming a little too corporate. I think, being they're the number 3 chain as far as convenience stores in the nation now.
Really? Wow.
And they were starting to dictate some things schedule wise, etc. That I never really needed anybody to tell me how many hours I needed to work. I just did what I had to do.
Yeah, what needed to be done. Yeah.
And as I got older, I just started to guard my time a little.
Can understand that one.
Definitely, knowing that we have a finite time on this earth.
We do.
And so I, at the same time, was thinking about that. And Casey's had some changes coming down the pipeline. My second granddaughter, Elizabeth, was born.
Okay.
And my daughter-in-law, Faith,
love the
wife
name,
to my son, Christopher, here in town, had a seamless gutter business. So she needed some time off. And I said, that's funny, because I was thinking about leaving Casey's at the same time. So I helped him out for a couple years or so. And
yeah, he's an awesome dude.
Yeah.
I like your son a lot.
She came back on board, and I helped him out for a little bit, and then they're okay. So I decided to do my own thing.
Awesome. So no, you ran that store very, very well. You did act like it was your own, and it showed. It very much showed. But so, okay, when you were growing up, I always ask on the Dreamcatcher podcast, what was your dream growing up when you were a kid? What did you want to be? I've only had one person that couldn't remember. So, do you remember what you wanted to be?
Oh yeah, I really admired Dave Thomas.
Oh really? Okay, Wendy's.
Just a simple guy. He was actually adopted. That's how you got.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The big deal with Wendy's at the Dave Thomas Adoption Foundation for Adoption. Okay. And always really admired the guy. Great Christian man. And I felt like, to be in that position to turn around and help other people.
Yes. Amen.
And, he had humble beginnings. And his mantra basically was, just be nice to people.
That's a good mantra.
And as I'd grown up, I'd gotten kind of cynical, to tell you the truth. And it wasn't until mid-college point that I really changed my attitude.
Okay.
And not necessarily myself changed, but I came to faith in Christ.
Awesome.
And that totally changed my perspective and gave me a love of people and wanting to serve. And I just continued to serve doing Wendy's. And after I got moved here, stumbled onto a job at Casey's and a little more salary, which having 5 kids helped out.
Oh, yes.
And kind of grew through that and just got involved in the community, love for small towns. And
awesome. I'm glad you came to Minden. So, so what brought you to that point where you had that epiphany, that moment, something that occurred in your life that brought you to Christ, or to the when you were cynical and going from that?
Yeah, I had a wine, women, and song complex, better known as the Dionysus complex.
Okay.
The Greek demigod.
Okay.
And that took its toll, not only in my body, but in my soul.
Okay.
And so I had actually went back in the early to school
Okay.
in the semester to help out at Wendy's, and of course enjoy the New Year's Eve festivities. And I did so quite readily. And of course, I requested January 1st off to recover.
Okay.
And then January 2nd, I closed that night. Got off by 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Right.
And I just felt an overwhelming sense. God placed so many great people at Wendy's.
Oh, really? Okay, Wendy's, awesome.
And they shared their faith with me and just kind of kept at it. They never gave up. And, I don't know who was praying for me other than I know my grandmother was for sure.
For worse.
Yeah. And, when I got home that night, I just got down on my knees and just asked God to forgive me for the mess I'd made in my life and to just make me the kind of person that He would want me to be. And, of course, since then, it's been a continual process.
Oh, yes.
And I've enjoyed the ride. Don't regret that decision.
I love that. No, I definitely love that. In fact, podcast I did yesterday. It's like God. I talk to God daily, and He told me he's because my podcasts we're coming up on year 4. Didn't start out as spiritual and and he says, so many people are not getting my word at church. So he says, I kind of want, and he says, I'm going to send the people to you that will make the podcast kind of like their church, And then he said he wanted to be on the world stage. And I figured, okay, that's kind of social media and the internet. And it's like, okay, this isn't, but he has. It's been amazing that he has. And because I've had people want me to speak, traditionally. And he's like, that's all right. But he says, I want your main emphasis on doing this, reaching more people that way. And because I wasn't until probably, I'm new to this game, or not game, this, I don't know what you call it, new to this calling, within the last year and a half, because I started it out and, it was a good podcast, but it was just kind of a mishmash of everything. But there's definitely, in fact, I had a lady the other day, she's like, you're way too religious and spiritual on your podcast. And I said, well, you're probably not a good match then. So, but it has, and it's just, it is interesting how God is doing that for me. He's just, it just amazes me. And I always knew God was that thing over there when I was growing up, because I was in the Methodist church when I was raised. And now it's just a whole nother, I don't know. It's awesome.
Same here. It took a while to sink in. As a freshman, I had quite a few at Wendy's that would share the hope and love of Christ.
Really? Okay.
And I actually got involved in a Bible study.
Okay.
And investigated on the life of Christ.
Okay.
But
that's interesting.
So I had kind of one foot in like the Christian world, and then one foot where, hey, weekend time, have some fun.
Yeah.
And so it took a couple of years to finally sink in until that night, January 3rd, 1986.
Yeah.
And early morning. And so.
Yeah, you just never know. It's that your whole life changes. Yeah, you never can go back, which I don't want to go back to that. So, because I had my time over there at Kearney too. I was in the fraternity, and then oh my gosh, which I was Alpha Tau Omega, and they've been really good. They've been very supportive, and we did do a lot of. There was always, of course, alcohol and stuff like that, traditional stuff like that, but they were pretty good that way. But no, I just want to share. Well, I had a thing where God told me to take some stuff over to a Goodwill in Hastings. I usually go to Kearney, and this gal came out, and she says, I think you're an answer to my prayer. And she came out and gave me a hug. And it's like, I really like this Goodwill. But she'd only been off like for 16 days. And it's like, wow. And then the other day, I helped 2 gals in Holdridge, of all things, get a podcast started. And it was a place that I'd never gone out, west part of Holdridge, which is kind of like a restaurant I think you might have done. And the gal came over, Amanda, and she wanted to know what I did. And she's like, you do a podcast? And then her friend Chris, and she's like, we've been praying for somebody to show up And she said, and Chris said, "It's a green light." She says, "I said if somebody showed up, it was a green light." And it's like, oh, I love this. I just love that when it happens that way. So going on from what you're doing now. So how did you get it, faith in action, right?
That is.
So how did you go in? How did you get to that point? What you're doing right now?
Well, Dick Phillips and his wife Sally started Be the Gift over 13 years ago.
Okay.
And Dick had asked me, excuse me, to be on the board
Mm-hmm.
and to help out. And did so for all 13 years since its inception.
Okay.
And we, meaning my wife Lori and I, both really enjoyed being a part of that and seeing the difference that even the smallest acts of kindness can impact. And to those who are marginalized, it's like almost immediately females that have been divorced are thrown into the poverty line. Mm-hmm. And so Dick, having a daughter of his own in the same plight, just listened to God and said, "Hey, we need to do this, not only for our daughter, but others out there."
Right.
And Be the Gift is open to not only male divorcees, but female as well.
Okay.
And, Dick and Sally are no spring chickens anymore.
No.
And they wanted to spend a little more time with their immediate family.
Sure.
And, they're now 80 years old.
Are they really? I didn't realize that. Wow. They don't act like 80.
I know.
At least
right?
what I think 80 should be like. Wow. I would have never guessed that.
Yeah.
Wow. No wonder. Okay.
They're just really cool people.
They are.
And they seem ageless, but
they do.
They're not. And so when they decided to call it quits, I just felt a really strong urging.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a subject of much prayer. And God led me to Ron Keene, who also had a desire to see what's going on and keep things going, because it would be a big gap left in the community, I think, if we had just done nothing and just let it go. But I'm glad we did and have felt the support of people's prayers and financial help as well. And so we're just keeping going.
So how long have you been heading this now?
Oh, let's see. They ended in January, and I think we're incorporated probably by sometime this summer.
Okay, so
this last
relatively recently then.
Yeah, it really has been.
Okay,
less than 6 months.
I lose track of time. I didn't know if it'd been years or
Yeah.
So I still can't believe it that they're 80. And he is so ornery. So, so is this a thing that God called you to do then, or did you discuss this with God? Or
I feel definitely led to continue the work that Dick and Sally did, and so does Ron, and definitely had confirmation just from all the prayers and support that people have expressed, and really appreciate that.
Yeah,
and I'm sure the parents that are being blessed do as well.
Yeah. So is this the people you help are just in Minden city limits?
No, basically Kearney County.
Kearney County, okay.
They just have to have school children, school-age children that hang out here in the county. And
do you have a certain amount of people you want to help at a time, or do you have a limit?
Not really.
Just whoever's in need. Then.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as they're with their children at least half the time, and they go to school here.
Okay.
I would probably help.
So do you do like an interview process then before?
Oh, just basically some simple information form.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
get signed up.
So I probably more need than I even realized in this community, because I know I have found that there's quite a few homeless people in Hastings just from being. It just amazes me because I did a podcast. Sherlyn did a podcast this summer in one of those green spaces downtown, and we had people join us. And the one guy was actually going to take a bath, because they had a fountain there. And I mean, it was just like, wow. You don't think of homeless people, and there's so much need in this area.
Yeah.
because it's kind of still, which I like, that people help each other, but people are all in a hurry anymore too.
Yeah.
And I mean, so where would you like to take this organization, like in 5 years?
You know, um, being a pretty busy guy, I haven't
You
really
are, yes.
sat down and was like, okay, God, what are you going to do with this?
Mm-hmm.
Just continue to do what we're doing, or we're going to get bigger? Other churches have kind of investigated while I was
Okay.
with Be the Gift on maybe how they could model that in their communities. And I
Okay.
think that's
Awesome.
great.
I do too.
And if that spreads that way,
Yeah.
that's great.
That'd be awesome.
That's really the goal, to just be able to spread to other communities, not just in this county, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what a thing to have spread, that all the
Yeah.
more people you can help. Because I'm for Ripple, because every time you help somebody, that maybe they could be help person that makes a difference in somebody else's life.
Exactly. And
So-
it's like you spoke of the homeless, like not only in Hastings, Crossroads Mission has a footprint kind of here in the South Central area.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they started out in Hastings,
Okay.
and then Kearney is a big one, and then now Grand Island, Lexington,
Wow. I didn't
and
realize
further.
that.
So
Okay.
those guys have just continued to expand because the need has expanded. Unfortunately,
Yes.
economic conditions had taken a turn
Yes.
for the worse the last 4 years,
They definitely have.
and hoping to see that rebound perhaps.
Me too.
But there are no guarantees, and there are still going to be people that have that need.
Yeah.
That get displaced for one reason or another.
Yeah.
Some mental health is definitely the issue.
Yes, and that's very much ignored in this country.
Yeah, it is sadly ignored.
Yes.
And I think that's where people of faith can actually step in and fill that gap.
Yes, that's
Definitely.
a very important gap. So now, I mean, so do you do any collaborations like with Crossroads, or have you guys done anything like that? Or anybody else?
Not specifically, but the church we attend here in town, Minden Free,
Mm-hmm.
and people that we've known, not just in the Free Church, but have gone over and helped at Hastings.
Have they? Okay.
We volunteered, like at the holiday times, like Thanksgiving and Christmas,
Okay.
over in Kearney, and we've had like work days in the summer to help out.
Really? Okay.
We're
Cool.
heavy on the garage sales. Well, what they don't usually sell, they take to Crossroads Mission at the shop.
Okay.
And now they have a shop in Hastings
Really? Okay.
as well that people can donate to.
Nice.
And I don't think it's near as administratively laden as, like, say, a Goodwill.
Okay.
And employs quite a few people as well. Helps them get off the street and get on their feet.
Yes.
So I appreciate the work that they are continuing to do in their mission to eradicate homelessness and poverty. And so kudos to them. And
Yes. And it's so easy to, you don't stumble one time and you can become that way. I mean, with as much as rent costs anymore and food, and like you were saying, I mean, it's, I don't know how people do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, rent has gotten even crazy here in central Nebraska.
Yeah.
And I look at what I paid when we're going to college for,
Exactly.
it's just, one medical, because with my wife and her cancers, the Affordable Care Act doesn't do a real good job of helping you out there. Because they, I won't even get on there. But I mean, that's one thing about this podcast. I have dealt with so many people around the world, and they wonder why we don't have like one in Sweden. She said that actually she's a resident of the United States and Sweden, and she's like, at least we get something for our tax dollars in Sweden.
Mm.
And in fact, I think she's going to do a podcast, kind of a little bit more than that. She's done one already. But she's just like, why don't you guys have universal health care or something, more of a safety net, because if you don't, I won't even, I mean, health insurance, if you don't pay your rent, so many people they're all so close, to being in the poverty level. And it's just like we're Affordable Care Act. We haven't done anything because they want $3,300 for a premium. And of course, we can get government subsidies, but it's just like, okay, we start making money, it's just like, who can pay that per month? And it's just so many things. And we're supposed to be the head of, supposed to show the world, but we're really falling behind on a lot of things. And in fact, because we were actually in Italy a little over a year ago, last summer, and we actually thought about moving there because Cheryl could get on their insurance within 90 days. It's just like, really? This is so easy, and it's just like, although Italy was pretty awesome, I don't really want to leave this area, and I shouldn't have to. So, I don't know. That's maybe another podcast. So,
Yeah.
so Scott, what are some other things you like to do?
Me, gosh, I love baseball.
Do you? Okay.
I've announced Legion ball games for 13 years
I didn't know that.
here in town,
Good.
and going on my 14th year coming
Cool.
up. Always looking forward to the season. I also love hockey.
Really? Okay.
You bet. NHL or USHL or wherever.
It's wherever hockey's at. Okay. Awesome.
You bet.
Okay.
And, I definitely have favorite teams and favorite players in both baseball and hockey. Football's probably third.
Okay.
But, I don't spend time watching sports a whole lot. I'll listen to maybe a game while I'm doing something else anymore. When my last TV went out, that was my last TV.
I hear you.
I'd gotten tired of the nightly news.
Me too.
And just said, there's better things we can do with our time.
Oh, I 100% agree with you on that one.
So, that's where Be the Gift came in, and just being involved in more activities in town.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
not that Casey's wasn't busy enough activities.
Yeah, you were busy.
Morning till night.
Yeah.
And so I've definitely enjoyed the time being off that merry-go-round and being out and about in the community more and involved in church activities as well. So, I still haven't played golf in a couple of summers. So
that's just not right.
It's not.
Are you a pretty good golfer?
I used to be pretty decent.
Okay.
But I even gave my golf coach a run for his money back in the day.
Wow.
In the long driving competition.
Okay.
But he always said I had the most torque per pound per square inch of anybody on the team. And
awesome.
So for a little guy, I could hit the ball off the tee pretty well.
Okay. So did you play a lot of sports when you were growing up?
All of them.
Did you? All of them? Okay.
Until we moved to Aurora, and then I had to specialize in baseball and golf.
Okay.
We moved to Jocktown, basically.
Did you?
I felt like I was in a land of giants.
Okay.
I weighed all of 98 pounds as a freshman in high school.
You were a little guy.
120 when I was a senior.
How tall are you?
5'5.5".
I guess she's taller than that. Okay.
So, yeah, I decided that, I loved playing football.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed basketball, but, baseball and golf were where it's. I played a lot of tennis, just pickup games.
Okay.
Because that was big back then.
Sure, yeah.
Just
so
pick up whatever.
Do you play pickleball now?
I do some.
I've had people ask me, but I've never played that. Is that pretty good?
It is fun. Okay. Fast pace and a little easier.
Okay.
Maybe.
No, actually, last year, because I go to the Y in Hastings, and Sally was over there playing pickleball, and I knew she was there, of course, because you can't miss Sally. Which I love that about Sally. And then it wasn't too long ago, she's like, "Don't buy it on the paddle." She says, "I'll give them to you." So she must have got tired. So, but actually, there was some over at the swimming pool park they were playing this summer. I know some people playing pickleball, but so is it like any other game you've done, or you play You said tennis.
Oh yeah.
Is it like tennis? Or
it's a little
ping pong.
It's a little more enclosed, so you don't have to run as far.
Okay.
From one end of the court to the other to get a ball, which is kind of nice. But right now, I would say my favorite hobby would be, since I dabbled in it probably in 72.
Okay.
When I started, 73 a little more, and by 74, 75, I was really heavy into card collecting.
Card collecting. Okay. What kind of cards did you collect?
Baseball, football, hockey, basketball.
Oh wow, a lot of good.
So I
You still have them? Or
to
still
me
do
they
that?
were like cardboard gods, and I
I love
treated
it.
my cards as such.
Uh-huh.
So they're still in really pristine condition.
Awesome. That's
And
really
back
good.
in the day, you could turn those Bazooka Joe comics
Right, yeah.
that came in the bubble gum
Uh-huh.
for, if you had 100 of them, you could turn them in for that year's set.
Didn't know that.
And I did that a few times and still have them. So,
Wow,
you know,
I see
50-year-old
those would
set
be-
that's still
Wow.
pristine condition.
Awesome.
And, you know, my kids would probably enjoy it after I pass away.
Mm-hmm.
But I just love collecting them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd hand collate sets. I always had money because I was a paper boy.
Okay.
And so, you know, quite a bit of my earnings back in the day, especially when that series came out, baseball or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I had quit collecting basketball probably in the 90s.
Okay.
But the junk wax era was a little harder because I felt like there were some decent companies, but you couldn't collect everything.
True.
You know, I was starting to raise kids in the early 90s with my first come along in 91, and then 93 and 95. So those years were not only hard on the golf handicap, but hard card collecting wise and
I can see that.
justifying the money to spend those. But I'm playing kind of catch up now, which is a little bit of fun. But you can be selective and look back and what were the most fun and valuable to collect, and they're still fairly reasonable to grab. So
where do you go to find those in this day and age?
You know, there's very few card shops.
I wondered on that. Yeah,
eBay has been fairly good. To be able to find some cards that I had liked to collect and didn't have a chance to back in the day. So
that's cool. No, I mean it is. I mean, eBay, I've had pretty good luck with stuff. I do the vintage Christmas thing, and most people have been honest. So, which I always wonder about that.
Yeah.
So, but no. So do you like to travel?
I do. Of course.
A little tough now.
Running convenience store and restaurants.
Yeah, that would make
necessarily,
it.
But I always enjoyed traveling to see my kids finish basic training.
Okay.
3 of my kids represented 3 branches.
Oh, wow.
Of the military. 1 is still in. My youngest daughter, Sophie, she's in the Navy stationed out in Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay.
My next oldest boy, Josh, he was in the Marines for 4 years. He's now going to UNK.
Okay.
And then my youngest boy, he was in the Air Force for 6 years.
Wow.
He just finished up in the end of June and hopes to go to school on the GI Bill once he gets everything straightened out. Maybe do some animatronics at Central Michigan University. So
awesome.
Lofty goal.
So where's that at in Michigan? I know Michigan pretty well.
That's a good question.
Okay. I like Michigan very well.
I haven't looked that up. I know, you know, once in a while, I think even Nebraska's played Central Michigan University on their schedule back in the day. But yeah, so Uncle Sam had 60% of my kids for 4 years. I mean, holidays time was always interesting and not quite the same.
I bet that's true.
And now with the passing of my father about 3 years ago, it continues not to be.
Yeah.
But passing of the torch.
It is.
You just got to pick it up and run with it.
Yep. And time goes very quickly.
Yeah.
You know, my birthday is Sunday, and it's just like I'm going to be 62. And it's just like, it seems like I was 22. Yeah. And everybody's like, that's why the reason I started this, because everybody's like, well, I'll get my dreams when I get older. It's like, you better do it now because time goes very, very quickly.
Yeah. Very quickly. And thankfully, I still feel pretty young. Mm-hmm. Once in a while, all the activity catches up with me, and a Sunday afternoon nap is required.
Of course. Naps are good. Very good.
That's about the only time I can manage one. Sometimes I nod off after I get home at the end of the evening.
I can't imagine. I can relate with that.
But I've been on staff with I'm in an E-Free youth group for quite some time. And those guys at 7th and 8th grade level keep me pretty busy.
I bet. Yeah, lots of energy.
It's fun to go see some of their activities and be involved in their lives and see them grow up and graduate. Just like, you know, announcing all the Legion games, seeing some of those guys come back and watch games and
Yeah.
So, hey, I always appreciate you announcing the game and the enthusiasm I have for the game. And I do. I
I bet.
just love baseball.
Yeah. And that really, when you do love something, you do get the enthusiasm. So, and then you look at those kids, and it's like, as a kid, I think growing up, it seems like time goes slow. But boy, when you see kids growing up, it just goes by so quickly.
It does.
So it just does. So okay. Before we end the podcast, so if people were in a need, how would they get a hold of you guys?
Well, they can definitely reach me at the
Okay.
Minden Hardware.
Yeah, that's true. They can. Yes.
That's for sure. I am on Facebook.
Okay.
I have been for like a year now.
Okay.
I know. It took quite a while.
Okay.
But they can message me on Instagram or hop on the Faith in Action Facebook page.
Okay.
As well. But, my phone number is 308-832-5392.
Okay. So
If they have any inquiries, and or Ron out at Mower Medic here in town as well.
Okay, cool.
But we welcome anybody that's interested that would qualify to be part of Faith in Action and be a recipient or help out. Either way, we'd take either.
So people can just volunteer then, or
you bet.
Okay. So how do they just approach you then?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a needs list or something like that, or stuff's coming up where you need volunteers?
Well, we're just continuing to develop what Dick and Sally did, and as funds become available, work that into what we do.
That makes
for
sense.
sure.
No, that makes
Seeking
sense.
to they had a great model, and that we did like home repairs. Dick and I helped build some steps for a gal.
Okay.
At her trailer house one time, and replace furnace filters.
Yeah, the stuff
help remodel bathrooms. You name it. Whatever seemed necessary. So if there's some tradesmen out there that feel like volunteering their time, we'd more than welcome their help, because we get people all the time that say, "Hey, I got a washing machine down."
Yep.
Rather than go out and buy a new one. Yeah. If we had somebody that could look at them and go like, I don't think this is worth it.
Yeah.
I know in this throwaway world that's awful easy to do, but it's still, if you had somebody volunteering to do the labor, which can be 75.
Oh yeah, that is
bucks an hour, and just $100 for the call itself, just to come out.
Yes, unbelievable.
So it's gotten a little crazy out there.
It has gotten very crazy. No, I mean, it is a throwaway world, and that's why my washing machine and dryer are from 1988. I want stuff that I can still, but there is such a need. I mean, just like you say, changing it as simple as changing a furnace filter, Yeah. And I know when I was doing handyman, some of those people I don't think had done it in years, because I mean, even the ridges were all, and I'm amazed that anything worked on that still. But that is cool. I mean, that is very cool. So basically, just get a hold of you guys. How many members do you have that, Ron and you? I mean, how many people do you have that are kind of out there helping, or does that vary?
Oh, right now we have about, I would say, like 7, either on the board or assisting the board.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
But as far as like volunteers, I could probably call up Dick, and
if he wasn't, I'm sure you could. Yeah.
He'd have a job.
Yeah.
Or just some other people that have helped with Be the Gift in the past. That if they had a moment, they would definitely say hey. So
no, I could definitely see that. So,
always grateful.
Yeah, no, the whole thing is a blessing. I mean, talk about and being a blessing to other people too. That's what it's all about. So
that's what we're meant to be.
Yep. So Scott, I'm going to end the podcast unless you have anything more you want to add to the podcast before we end. Otherwise, thank you for being my guest.
Thanks for having me. Sure appreciate it, bud.
So, and
glad we finally got together.
And I look forward to, now that I know a little more about the organization, following you a little bit more and seeing the impact you guys are making in this community, this county, and maybe around the area. So I look definitely forward to that, and maybe doing a follow up, maybe with you and Ron. I mean, maybe what your organization, do something like that, or what, I don't know what that looks like yet, but God will
think of something.
And if not, God will show me what needs to be done. So
you bet.
So on that, I will end the podcast. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Dreamcatcher. And until next time, take care.